And welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show. For those of you tuning in national syndication, those of you on YouTube, welcome to the show. Got my guest Brandon Steiner with a collectible exchange. I guess I don't know. We could go down the list of things you're involved with, Brandon. That's what I'm really excited about today's interview because you've done a little bit. Obviously, author. I think you've written 3 or 4 books now. You just dropped a brand new book. You've had your hands in a lot of different things.
Yes, I have. Well, you mentioned a new book, The Ride Along. If you're interested in safety, pick this up on Amazon, eBay. It's my 4th book. Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of it, man. I mean, it's been an exciting time for our company. It's a new company, no more Steiner. Collectible Exchange is in our 5th year now. Geez, time flies. And we're just rocking and rolling with, I mean, the main for us is that people have this problem now where they have these collections and they don't know what to do with them. But somebody's passed on, they're downsizing, they got all these trading cards, they don't know what they're worth. And we put together a team here that really helps you sort it out, helps you authenticate, verify, grade your cards, and then figure out what you actually have and whether you want to convert that to cash or sit on that thing. We vault the stuff for you. So it's a really good solution to what seems to be a very, very growing problem. Where people are downsizing, the baby boomers are getting older, their parents left them stuff, they've got stuff, and they don't know what to do with them. And the kids are a little wobbly about whether they want it or not. Although there are some kids that do want it. There are a lot of young collectors out there, so we're grateful for that. So yeah, I've been busy. Just been enjoying this business. That's on a really good high. I'm staying up a couple of nights worrying about the trading card business and all the kids that are getting kind of tricked into buying these expensive cards that in a short period of time may not be worth much. But that's another story for another day that I hope at some point somebody writes about, because I don't mind if we get ripped off as an adult. I just don't like ripping off the kids because we're smarter and slicker and able to maneuver and market and promote them better, and they don't know better. So they're stupid enough to think that if I just open up this one thing, it could be the golden ticket.
Well, and I think the difference is, they were there for about 10 or 15 years when I was younger, and we're talking early 80s. And then things really started booming late 80s. But I got a crazy big collection of cards, memorabilia, whatnot. But it started out where things were 50 cents a pack, and you could get it. Now I look at what kids are paying for a pack of cards, and it's crazy. And it's
$50.
Yeah, it's a big investment for a kid, and you hate to see that. And I was one of those. Yeah, we're gonna get the at the that point in time, the Don Mattingly rookie, Topps rookie card or whatever. I never got that one, but you weren't really invested in it too much. So if you didn't get it, it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, kids now spending upwards of $50, and you got adults buying the packs and driving prices up, because they're trying to flip them, and it's become kind of a crazy situation.
It's a little bit. It's a little off the. It's a little bit out of control, And the problem is that some of it actually works. I mean, you pick up this card and it is worth $10,000, but it's so rare and uncommon that it happens, and the amount you could potentially spend. I was in this casino in Chicago last week. I was at this casino having dinner. I'm like, and it's packed.
Yeah.
I mean, jammed. I'm like, do any of these people know they're not going to really win in the long run? Like. I mean, do you really know, like, when you're betting on these football games, that most likely at the end of the day, you're going to be a loser? Like, what prompts people to want to do this? I don't know. However, it doesn't seem to be stopping them. Don't get me started on the sports gambling, because now we got Gambling Anonymous. Now we're gonna have these gambling, God knows, these 6-month programs to get people unwound out of betting on games, and families broken up. We see kids in all kinds of debt. I don't know, like, and really this card thing is like gambling.
Yeah,
it's really what it is. Like, buy this $25 back card, and it could be the card that could be worth $100,000. And kids, they like everyone else, they like the action, but a lot of losers along the way. So, at Collectible Exchange, we just try to keep it straight and narrow, letting people know what they have and stuff that they need to move on while markets are moving, and stuff that they need to get organized now before the market changes. But the good news is the collectible business is really up and really thriving. And that's why I don't like the gambling part of it all. I'd rather minimize that a little bit more. And just some of the stuff that's being done in collectibles is outrageous. It's great. and can't we just stay in the middle lane on it?
Yeah.
But I'm hoping.
Well, and you talk about riding high, and that's one thing I wanted to, and I was really heavy into collecting and stuff like that when I was younger. And obviously life, moves forward and things like that. But there was a downturn in the collectible industry. You know what I mean? Things really peaked, and then it
Yeah.
it, it was a lot of junk in the market at the time, and and things like that. And now I feel like, it's riding high. I mean, I've seen it come back, and just on social media, the flood of content, things like that. And talk about that, because you've been around the industry for a long time, and there was a downturn. Now you've got this huge wave again. I mean, how do we keep it so it doesn't crash again?
Well, the good news is, I was in Charlotte the other day, and I was just walking down the street, and there was this nice little card shop, and you could see part of it where they're going live streaming, and they had a bunch of kids that were doing different things, and I love the activity where the kids are so involved. That's what I love about the business, is that there's young entrepreneurs, and whether you win, lose, or whatever, draw, there's a lot of learning lessons being learned. And what's really thriving now is these small card shops. It's kind of a place for kids to go. It's their casino.
Yeah, it's a
That's kind of how I
hangout.
look at it. And I don't want them to take a hit, but the lessons they're going to be learning about the value of a dollar, how to make a dollar, how to just sell, and how to get along with others and work a deal and all that. I just love. That's why I think entrepreneurship in this next young generation is going to be off the charts. There's so much room. There's so much stuff that has changed in our world and in our country. It's mind-boggling. But the real growth comes from the improvement on those changes, not the changes themselves. When you look at some of the great changes in our life, it's been based on great movement in something, with the web. We think about where we were, in 2000 with the web boom, but the real great improvement came on the improvements on webs, where people can put up a web for a couple $100. Back in 2000, it was like $50,000 to put up a website.
Yeah.
So here you see these young entrepreneurs, 15, 16, 14 years old, with suitcases of cash, wheeling, dealing. I think the business is really healthy that way, because these kids are nothing else going to be great entrepreneurs as they grow up. And these little card shops are distribution centers. Even Amazon's got distribution centers. So everybody's kind of caving in on, Main Street has now become Plain Street. There's no more retail, but very gradually, Amazon's opening up these small little shops, because you got to show up in these towns. And what I love is that these card shops are showing up everywhere. And those are little distribution centers where people can gather, get together. And you need that to make an industry really thrive. And that's what we have. And then the other thing is Whatnot, TikTok, eBay Live, the streaming channels. We are way behind on stream selling compared to Europe. But here, the trading card streaming is taken off. Buying cards, collectibles on streaming channels is through the roof. Breaking is through the roof. And it's been going on for a while. And it's leading the way on streaming. So when you go to Whatnot, eBay Live, is, hours and hours of programming, tens of thousands of people selling. So that's been a really nice thrust. So a kid from his basement, if he wants to get in the game, he's buying stuff, online with Whatnot. He's picking up stuff. He's selling stuff, and you see it happening. I'm doing a show on Whatnot, and I mean, I never even knew what Whatnot was up until about a year ago, and now I'm loving Whatnot, and I'm loving the engagement I have. Like, there's thousands of people on the channel that I'm selling stuff on. It's an opportunity for me to explain where I've been, what I'm doing, why I think this is a good idea, why I think it's a good product, and the kids are loving it. I feel like there's a lot of kids on there. There may be some adults too, but so I'm loving Whatnot. I'm loving TikTok even. They do a good job. They're a little behind, but they're getting there. eBay Live's right there. We do an eBay Live show now. So if you're into that kind of stuff, just follow me and I'll direct you, how to watch my programming. But I'm loving the change. I'm enjoying the change. I'm doing it with a tremendous amount of curiosity, Jim, and with a lot of enthusiasm behind it. Meaning, enthusiasm, the root word of that is enthusios. That means to be with God. So I'm praying that this direction I'm taking of doing all these different things that I never did in my previous, I'm trying new things. I'm doing new ways to create products and sell products and obtain products. And I'm praying that it's going to work. So far, so good.
Well, and yeah, it's funny because I go back because I do a lot of I've done some public speaking and entrepreneurship and talking to people on brand growth, and I do some consulting. And one of my things I always preach is adapt or die. If you're doing the same thing you were doing 10 years ago, chances are your business is not headed in a good direction. You've always got to be changing with the times and looking at what's the next big thing, and trying to be a step ahead of everybody. And obviously, we could talk about your entrepreneur career, but you've always been a step ahead of trends, and at least try and have your foot in the door when things take off.
Well, the only person who likes change is a wet baby. I mean, that's it. If you're not changing, and you need it. It's not just, oh, I want to go with change. It starts with enthusiasm and curiosity. You got to ask questions. I think if you're a little bit older, you got to make friends with some younger people. Like, they are so much more smarter, knowledgeable. So I try to, you got to realize, like, as much experience as you have, and maybe those younger ones could use some of your knowledge and experience. You need to have the young kids explaining how some of this works, because it's common knowledge for them. So I think there's the communicate. You cannot let a generation gap. I have a lot of friends. Oh, I'm not on Facebook. I don't go on TikTok. I'm like, you're about to become a dinosaur, man. You're about to become extinct. So, the entrepreneurism and the growth really comes from enthusiasm and curiosity, and your ability to, really want to get into some uncomfortable situations. And think about how long it took us to work out VCRs and answering machines. Like, there isn't that much room anymore for that kind of behavior. You need to be able to keep up with the Joneses, in this case, all these apps, and keep up with these streaming channels, and really keep up not only in the trading card and memorabilia business, but all these businesses are now requiring a lot more interaction online, other than just going to a website.
Yeah. Well, and here's a question, just and it ties in with a lot of different things. So my daughter's 16 years old, so I look at her for trends. I think she's perfect to be able to kind of judge where things are going. And for the last 10-ish years, a lot of stuff has gone digital. We had music go digital, books go digital, movies go digital. Now I'm seeing my daughter at 16 going, I don't like digital. She's buying
Right.
records, she's buying CDs, she's buying physical copies of books. You know what I mean? She wants tangible things. She doesn't want it to exist in the cloud. You see with collectibles, I know NFTs there for a while, was kind of a big thing, especially during the pandemic and things like that. But do you see a shift now because people are actually wanting to see it, feel it, touch it? They're wanting something tangible and not just a digital collectible.
I do. I mean, just in the case in point, all these card shops opening up, and everybody's gathering in there, and they're buying, they're touching, they're selling. I mean, maybe a combination of some digital along with the physical. So when you get a physical thing, it comes with the digital as part of the deal. I could see that happening. I've been saying that all along. I don't know if it's gonna or not, but the collectible thing is this physical thing. It's gonna always be more dominant, I think. But the digital, there's room for a little part of it. Like, you go to a game, World Series, Game 7. You got this thing on your phone. You don't even have a ticket. So there should be something digitally that you get if you actually went to that game, that you can show people, hey, I did go to that game, because we all know great moments in these games. Everybody says they were there, but it doesn't add up. But it'd be nice to be able to have something digitally that showed that you were at that game, and you have this exclusive digital item. But then also you get sent this physical ticket that maybe is printed and or signed, autographed, and that kind of thing to boot. I could see some, things like that. To
That
me,
would
a
make
no,
a lot of
it's a
sense.
no brainer. It's a really no brainer. But the teams quite haven't caught on to that. But I've seen a little bit of that here and there. But it should be a lot more. But the teams are so fascinated with the fact that they don't have to print tickets and other savings. They're not printing tickets anymore, and they're just using these apps, and then that enable people to just charge more fees. But at some point, the teams need to start thinking about the branding and how important trading cards and ticket stubs and those things are all part of the deal, the experience. And I see the kids looking now more for the experience. They want to go to the party. They want to go to the conference. They want to go to the meet and greet. You know what I mean? Not just watching on YouTube. That YouTube's cool. All those things are cool. But you see an outpour of live events, conferences that are off the charts. I mean, everything's sold out. People want to be out. They want to be doing things, because a big part of the week they're working remotely, and they're not doing anything as far as interacting with people physically right in front of you. So when these opportunities come up, I think they're really on a boom now. And we're getting back at Collectible Exchange to doing more experiences, more meet and greets, more clinics, more Q&As where you can get to interact with people, fans. And then we see all the card shows like the National, over 200,000 people in Chicago 2 weeks ago. It's unbelievable. I mean, just jammed. You couldn't even get in the place. I mean, and it wasn't like we were giving away anything for free. Those were people that were going to spend money and a lot of wheeling and dealing. So it just shows you where a little bit of direction's going. And I can see Main Street coming back a little bit. You know, people may want to actually shop and just go for the experience of walking into a store and maybe picking out some things as opposed to just buying stuff on Amazon every other day.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
So I want to kind of jump back because I want to talk about kind of how you got to where you're at, because you've had quite an interesting career. I mean, from entrepreneurial from a young age, but I mean, take us back to the beginning, because how did you get started? Because now you've, you've become the guy when it comes to sports collectibles. I mean, you've had, we can talk about Yankee Stadium and a lot of other things, but I kind of want to, before we get to that, go back to the beginning and how did you get started doing what you're doing? Because it wasn't like you were a trust fund kid that had a bunch of money to get started. I mean, you started from nothing.
Yes, I mean, I did start from nothing. I don't know. I mean, it's just so many different things that happened at the beginning that I tried and didn't work, and some things did work. And I think it just started in the '90s for me on the collectible. And anyway, it was just I was representing Phil Rizzuto. I was doing some stuff with him and just trying to find my way. And this guy Mark Messier popped up, and I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to maybe put a collection around him because he had just won the Stanley Cup. And that was the beginning of really my collectible career. Even though I've been marketing players for years before that, finding them endorsements, finding them appearances, PR stuff. But Messier was the first one I decided to maybe take the collectible thing in-house and put together a product line. And it came from really, the whole concept came from A, I needed to make a little bit more money. And then B, it also came from the fact that there was a problem. There was a lot of fraudulent stuff out there at the time. And I thought that maybe if I put together a really authentic line around a big name like Mark, that maybe that was something that was needed. And I really just started, I did start in a big way. I didn't think this was some huge, big idea. I was going to make millions. No, I just thought it was this problem, solving a problem. Like there was some fraudulent autographs out there. I knew there was a lot of Ranger fans because we had won the cup. And I just figured Mark was like, 6-time Stanley Cup champion. Like he deserved a product line to be put together the right way, that felt right all the way from his whole career. So I tried it. It was a $10,000 investment I made to start the collectible company back in '94, which was everything I had, frankly, at that time. And I think that people sometimes get confused. And the reason I tell you that story is they get confused and they're just looking for the big, gigantic idea. And I think it's what I've always done is just look for an early indication of something that maybe looks like it could work. Like, I don't know if people were going to come with all their collections and drop them off at Collectible Exchange, but I tried it, and all of a sudden people started coming, and then I started kind of promoting it a little bit online. Even more collections are coming. Now we can't keep up with the freaking collections as we get like 50 leads a week. But it started with an early indication. I went home. I was like, I think maybe this could work. I don't know. I have an early indication because I have my own collection, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I'm like, I'm sitting here with all this stuff. What am I going to do? I'm not going to stop putting one item at a time up on eBay. And I think that, for me, every business that I've started, I've always just based it on an early indication. I'm just looking for something that can kind of work. I'm also looking for something that no one else is doing. And at the time, no one else was doing this collectible thing. No one else was really thinking about, moments of time, great sporting events, and putting collectibles around great players and great moments. And that's where I saw the window, and that's where I saw the opportunity. Opportunity, the root word of opportunity is an open port. And that's another key word that I use in my thinking. Is there an open port? Is there an opening here and no one else is seeing it? It's a dangerous direction because you're not following anybody. But I saw the open port. I saw the opportunity that people, I think, really would like this stuff. And I think players deserve to have that brand play, a collection put around the whole career, not just on one great moment, but on their whole career. And that's what I kind of built Steiner around, and that's what seems to be the direction of the business is around great moments, great players, great teams, championship teams, which is kind of how I molded and developed the industry.
Well, talking about that great team, things like that. Obviously, we can tell from the polo you're a Yankees fan. How did that come about? I mean, this to me is, I mean, I'm from Arizona. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Yankee fan. I can't be, but I respect the hell out of the Yankees. They are one of the most iconic teams globally. How did you end up with Yankee Stadium? I mean, and that whole thing, because to me that's remarkable that deal ever even got put together.
Well, first of all, I'm not only a Yankee fan. I mean, I do like the Yankees, but I'm definitely a fan of all the teams that I'm making money with. Love Michigan, love Live Golf, love the Savannah Bananas. I love all the players and teams that I work with. I'm not just a Yankee one horse, one lane highway here. But when I was working on Yankee Steiner, which I knew that the business needed a pick me up, and the industry was kind of flat. I went to the Yankees and we were about to sign the deal. And I said, by the way, if we ever knock down the stadium, build a new stadium, is there any plans for that? They're like, no, we don't have any plans. But if there ever is, I've got to sell that stadium off. And it was like the last thing we negotiated when we did the Yankee Steiner deal back in 2004 is to say if they ever knock the stadium down, that'd be the person to take it down. And I give the Yankees a lot of credit. They understand the importance of that building. They understand the fandom around the great moments that happen in that building. So they really let me take it down the way I wanted to. If you really want to get the whole story about the Yankee Stadium takedown, you got to get my book, You Got to Have Balls. And if you actually message me, I'm happy to send you a copy of the book for free. Just message me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and I'll send you the book for free. Just send me your address, because that breaks down all the players, that what they bought and how I came up with not just taking a stadium down like that, but to really break it down into hundreds of thousands of pieces. It was one of the great takedowns. I'm real proud of that work. It's probably work that a lot of people remember me by, but I've taken down 5, 6 other stadiums, Texas Cowboys, the Garden, in Madison Square Garden, the Nassau Coliseum, the Giant Stadium. So I've taken down a bunch.
Yeah, to me, there's something special about preserving history of these iconic stadiums. It's just, especially Yankee Stadium. I mean, that's, I don't know.
It's not something I recommend. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of sleepless nights. It was a lot of, because if you really want to do it right, you think about the amount of Yankee fans, you got to create a product line that's something for everyone. And, all different price points. And there's always the most expensive stuff. But it was quite an undertaking. I'm glad I did it. I mean, it was a dream opportunity.
There's a lot behind the scenes that goes into that, but I guess let's segue a little bit into your new book, because obviously you're born and bred in New York. I think you spent a little bit of time elsewhere, but tell us about this new book, Ride-Alongs, what I learned about policing, crime, and the New York City justice system. I've spent actually quite a bit of time in New York. I love the city. Kind of curious on this book. I haven't read it yet, but New York's one of these places that it's the only place in the world like it. Tell us a little bit about the book.
I mean, it is about the NYPD, and I had incredible access. I mean, very few people got the access that I got to do many, many ride-alongs, a day in the police academy, took a gang down, crime lab. There's nothing I didn't touch, but this is a problem in every city all over America. We're down about 25% in man and woman power. And, our safety is definitely a little bit at risk. Even though crime is down, people don't feel safe. We're asking our police officers to do a lot of things that probably is questionable, as opposed to them going after the really bad guys. And there's a lot of problems in these neighborhoods. There's a lot of people that live in these communities that need more support. They need a bigger investment. They're in a really, really compromised position. And there are a lot of really good people living in these bad neighborhoods, and it's being ruined by a few. And if the police were able to focus more in on those few and shutting that down, those bad neighborhoods wouldn't be so bad. That's a little bit of a summation of a year riding along in many, many police cars, and redoing some police stations and spending time in these precincts and interviewing judges and interviewing lawyers and interviewing community service leaders. I mean, I did it all. I really just wanted to see what the rub is and why people are so down on the police. So the book, you feel like you're in the car with me. You feel like you're on this journey with me. And if you're really interested in your safety, most people wait until something bad happens and then, oh, wow, the safety thing. Oh, wow, I wish we didn't have guns on the street. But if you really want to really get a really good, clean view of what's going on in many cities around this country, you pick up this book right now, because safety is becoming a big, big issue that I don't know if people are taking it as seriously as they should.
Well, and I feel like New York, it's globally, it's actually, a focal point, but I think even here in the States, and it's like, I feel like New York City, there's these preconceived notions about it. I've spent quite a bit of time there. My wife and daughter and I went and spent a week over Thanksgiving last year in New York City. And it's like, I've never not felt safe in New York City. And I feel like, one bad thing happens in New York and it just gets blown up all over the media, and I had so many people, don't go to New York. You go to New York too often, you're going to get mugged. You're going to get, and I'm like, no, it's not bad. Don't ride the subway. I'm like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, there's 80 million, police in this country. I think there's 80 million calls a year, and people are focusing on the 20 that went bad. It's like, and granted, those 20 shouldn't go bad. People shouldn't be killed senselessly or by mistake. I understand that, and I think police departments are working on it. They've got to do better, but we also got to give more props and credit to the 79,900,000, and it's like, there's a lot of good police work being done. On the flip side, there's a lot of communities that need more investment, that need more empathy, that are not in a position where the people in those neighborhoods can win. And we got to be able to get more police on the street to take and focus in on the bad guys. There's not as many bad guys as you think in these communities, but they definitely make a big impact for a small group and make a whole neighborhood look bad. And you're dealing with so many trivial things and things that are questionable, whether even the police should be dealing with, that distracts them from being able to really get to the core of the matter. It's a fascinating book. I highly, highly, highly do not recommend anybody out there doing something like this. It's extremely dangerous, but it's worth the read. I wouldn't waste people's time or money to buy a book that wouldn't be something that was really on my mind. And all the money goes to helping people in these communities and helping fix up police stations. It's not a money grab for me or any stretch. And You know, if I sell one book or a million, it's all the same to me. I just hope that people give it a chance because I think we need a bigger conversation about how we want to handle our police in this country. And it's important we do it because the retention on police in this country is impossible. Everyone's struggling to keep these officers working, and then recruiting is even more difficult because nobody wants to be a police officer. We should all be concerned about that and want that fixed ASAP.
Yeah, completely agreed. So before we let you go, I guess I want to talk a little bit about kind of the future trends that are coming up. Where do you see not only sports but collectible industry? And you guys not only carry sports collectibles, you carry pop culture. There's a lot of different stuff, but we're seeing a lot of different things pop up. Where do you see things going in the next few years?
Well, obviously, women. The women thing hasn't caught on yet, and it's a slow burn to get them, where I think that ultimately they'll end up because some great women athletes that deserve their brands to be put in collectible, more in a better collectible environment. We're seeing the trading cards for women going up, but I see more popularity with the women. And I think in the next 3, 4 years, you'll see a lot more women autographs and collectibles and game used. I think the entertainment is a lot of room, particularly in music. I'm not sure the entertainment is going to get cracked anytime soon, but you see more and more of it. But the music, I definitely see these younger bands probably more willing to do collectible things. I see huge growth there. You're seeing trading cards for the Rolling Stones doing their own trading card sets, stuff like that. Um, I think there's still a lot of room for some secondary sports like rugby, Premier Soccer that still really is nowhere near on the collectability and those things are put in place. I wish I was just a little younger. I'd get on a plane, get to Japan, do Japanese baseball, and then I got to mention cricket. I mean, one of the most popular sports in the world, and it really doesn't have a lot of collectability around it, and not a lot of collectibles around it, and it needs somebody to take that by the throat and give people some, those there's just the helmets and the bats and the balls and there's so many things you can collect and the cricket matches are as bigger than ever, rugby bigger than ever, but so there's a lot of stuff going on in sports that easily could be that nobody's even touching, that easily could be, so there's a lot of room for growth in this business.
Yeah. What do you think about the explosion with the WNBA? I mean, I go back about 3 years to when Sabrina Ionescu was in the 3-point shootout with Steph Curry, and it was like that to me was really kind of put WNBA in front of a different audience. And now obviously you've got, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, you can go down the list, but I mean, man, the WNBA, I'm just watching just things, and it's not just one market, it's across the board, just explode right now.
Well, it's big. I think we're going to hit a little crossroads here because the women are not looking for a 25 or even a 50% raise. To look, the season ends and the collective bargaining agreement's over, and it's going to be big news. It's going to be very difficult negotiation because the markets that have teams, these valuations have gone up quite a bit. The players want to get paid. They feel that they're not going to get part of those evaluations, but they want to get paid. And our team owners willing to pay the money out based on what the values of their teams are because they don't have really the money or a lot of it based on the profits yet.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a really interesting burn whether this all comes together for WNBA. And let's not discount the Women's Soccer League, which is probably a couple steps ahead of the WNBA, which is certainly becoming really, really popular. I think women's softball has got a chance too. They're starting a league, and I think they're very popular. And the women's softball game is a lot of fast moving, really talented women playing that sport. So, and women's soccer to me is as popular as men's soccer. So I think you can't discount volleyball. I mean, with Iowa drawing a record crowd there, filling a stadium up. I think women's volleyball is popping. So there's a lot. Then you look at a Savannah Bananas, and then you look at things like that, and that could be a league in itself. So there's a lot of room for sports. It seems to be this country cannot get enough of sports. So I feel like we're still nowhere near the amount of sports that's still yet to come.
And I agree. I think this is I don't even know how to put it into perspective because I've been a sports fan my whole life, and I go to a lot of sporting events every single year. And post pandemic, it was just like, gosh, people just can't get enough of not only that, but live events. I can look at music and concerts, and the ticket prices to get into a concert being
Yeah,
3 or 4
yeah.
times what it was 5 years ago. But it's just like you said, I for whatever reason, this country can't get enough of not only sports but live events at this point.
I agree. So, there's still so much to be done. I think it's been really valuable with Fanatics coming in, just pumping a ton of money. I love the fact that his ability to lose money. It's just fascinating. So I'm going to stand by and let him keep losing a lot of money. Let him keep throwing as much money as he can into the industry. As long as the industry keeps getting bigger, I'm going to be a beneficiary. And that's how I look at it. Like anybody who wants to jump into the sports business, all these private equity guys, keep coming in, baby. Throw your $6 billion to buy the Celtics just means that potential opportunity gets bigger. Because when you put that kind of money in, there's more money to follow. And that's the sign that there's more room and growth. Because when you see private equity and big money coming behind an industry or a part of the sports industry that you're in, most people feel, oh my God, that's going to be so competitive. They're going to drown the market. No, they're making the market and they're growing the market. There's always going to be holes in the market. So I love when I see industries like Uber comes in and Lyft comes in, all these private little taxi cab companies were panicking. No, that means there's a viable industry that still has yet to be built, and you're going to be right in the middle of where you want to be without having to put all the money up. So it's that way with trading cards now. We're seeing tons of money being put into trading cards from not only a Topps or a Panini or Upper Deck, but there's 20 other trading card companies besides Pokemon and everything else. So that shows you that there's viability as far as real serious growth when people putting their money where their mouth is, and that's exactly what's going on in the sports business.
Yeah, well, and I never really looked at it that way. You know what I mean, with the investment, these owners, and we're seeing what teams are selling for. I mean, right now, and you could probably chime in this better than I can, but I mean, I'm just looking at what these players are bringing in. I mean, we can talk about the Otani contract, but I mean, it can go down the line. You look at some of these current NBA contracts, things like that. And I'm just looking at it, going, man, I don't know how this ever pencils out, but at some point, it's got to. Because these teams, you know what I mean? It's a massive investment, especially like Otani. I mean, it's upwards of $1 billion deal.
Well, that's what you look for, the early indications of people putting a lot of money because they have a view of the future, and you just hitch a ride. And so I look at it, and I don't know how this Otani thing and those payrolls, they seem very daunting to me. But when you add up all the marbles, and you add up where this particular sport's going, and the breadth of a Los Angeles Dodger TV deal and their ability to do things outside the country, that's where the money comes in. And we've seen it already with the Yankees, where they're probably a couple steps ahead of the Dodgers in my mind from just the brand and what it can do because of being the Yankees. And that's a little bit of what the Dodgers are betting on by strengthening that brand with dominance and big name players. It opens up so many doors for so many other things.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, TV deals, and I'm looking at streaming rights, and I'm just watching I think now we went from just terrestrial TV to yet streaming rights with Prime and Netflix. And I'm looking at UFC and Dana White's and what is it, TKO has been able to do with pro wrestling and UFC. And I'm going, pro sports are coming next. And it's just, I'm looking at these deals going, these are massive, massive rights deals.
100%. It's all going to come down to it. And once you get the app going, you got people watching, you're controlling the app, you're selling stuff. Remember going back to live streaming? Now you're watching the Yankee game. Now I'm selling you this, I'm selling you that without even getting into the commercials. And you're paying a ton of money. I mean, I can't believe how much money I'm paying for the Yankee app. It's outrageous. And then while I'm watching, they're selling me everything under the moon, sun, and stars. And eventually they'll get off those cable deals and you'll have, the same kind of money coming in directly, and you have control over the audience, as opposed to going through a cable network where you got to split the ad revenue and you got to go, deal with a kind of a middleman. It's fascinating, but it's nowhere near the end. I mean, I only wish I was a little younger. I just think these kids that are in their teens and 20s, what a run, what an upside they have. I'm so excited for them of what they're going to be able to do, given some of the paths that have been blazed ahead of them. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, and then you throw in the AI that they can do things quicker and more efficient than guys like you and I did. We started out. It's just
Yeah,
it's really throwing everything for a loop.
absolutely, absolutely.
But well, Brandon, I appreciate you
Thank
taking
you.
the time, my friend. It's been great talking with you, catching up. Where can people find out more information on your books and Collectible Exchange?
Well, you got to follow me on LinkedIn or go to my Instagram. Always putting up a ton of content. Definitely worthwhile with all kinds of deals, steals, and information. But if you want a copy of the book, just go to Collectible Exchange or go to eBay. I mean, go to Amazon or Collectible Exchange, and you pick up the book. I'm happy to give you a copy of the Balls book if you send a message. I'm happy to do that.
Absolutely, I will, buddy. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, my
Yep.
friend. Have a great day, and man,
Thank
we'll see
you.
if the Yankees can deal with Toronto here.